I
The
was
mount. Where's my mount?
dying.
Okay. Where's the mount?
Get any of it.
Okay, here we go. Let's find the mount.
Ladies and gentlemen, Blizzard have seen right to bless us with a hard mode for Mechagon. And taking on King Mechagon in this hard mode is going to lead to a ton of frustration and anger. But I've been watching
I can't relate.
quite a few streams of people trying this and failing it. So
Okay, so he wasn't watching
some
me.
tips because they were all making the same mistakes that led to them blaming each other. This is one of those
Okay.
fights that's going to just end up with you blaming each other, turning
Yes.
into a right,
True.
turning into a fight. But there's no need. There's a lot of ways you can make this easier for yourself.
Okay.
So if you don't know how to activate the hard mode, you do the previous bosses on hard mode, and that will present you with a button.
It's very, very
You push
simple.
the button at the end, and that will start the destruct sequence. Now, throughout the fight, periodically on the side, about every 35 energy, you're going to see a series of colours pop up on the left and right-hand side of the room.
Okay.
And these will appear in an order, so it'll be like purple, red, blue, yellow. And then the players have to input that code again when all the symbols reappear shortly after.
Yep.
In the correct order, extremely quickly. You have about 5 seconds
I
to do it.
fucking hate that, dude.
And once that's put in, then you...
I wonder if they're gonna have an add-on that can just teach you how to. It'll just do it for you. That'd be fucking awesome.
you can carry on with the fight. So the fight will be continuing to do all its very dangerous mechanics while you're doing this, and this is what's leading to a lot of these problems. Now, I will say here, to make this easier, having a more ranged group makes this so much easier. The first time I did it, I've done this twice now. The first time I did this, we had 2 melee, including a Death Knight, who ended up, even though they're geared to the teeth, with ludicrously low damage because of the amount of downtime they had, running away from the boss, waiting to clicking, then running back, doing a bit of damage.
Do you think they're ever gonna have a time whenever melee don't just fucking suck?
No.
Like, I mean, I always wonder about that because it's just they've been terrible for so goddamn long, and I'm kind of tired of it, man. I'm just kind of fucking tired of it.
I mean, rogues are almost always good. They're melee.
Yeah, that's true.
Damage for a bit and then having to leave again in order to press the button.
Okay.
It leads to a really awful scenario.
Yeah, your damage
The second
sucks.
time I did it was with a full ranged comp, 2 hunters and me on my mage.
And it's going to be easy as fuck.
We decimated this and had about 3 less codes to input.
Yep.
So that is something you want to bear in mind, okay? Now, let's get the first thing out of the way. Some people are going to be shit at this. They're going to panic. They're going to struggle. They're not going to understand it. Having voice comms is a massive bonus here. You can do it without voice comms. Some of my friends have told me how they did it without voice comms, having macros.
I don't know how the fuck you can do it without voice
comms.
comms.
The names of who have
I have
done
no
things
idea
so
how
they
you can do it without voice comms.
I would recommend use in-game voice. It's not that bad. We've used in-game voice several times on the stream. It works really well. There's no
Do you
reason
think
not
that
to
in-game? Do you guys think in-game
in-game
voice is ever actually going to catch on? Because to me personally, I don't think that it ever will. It just seems like one of those things where like nobody really gives much of a fuck about it, and it just doesn't really ever catch on. Nobody really cares. It needs to be incentivized. I mean, it needs to be something. Let's say that they had Solo Queue Arena. I wish like. What if they had like a bonus where if you were in in-game voice, you'd actually get like a bonus to the amount of loot that you could get? That would be probably, or not loot, but like maybe the artifact power or something like that for like a week. I don't know. Actually, no. Here's a better idea. No, it's a bad idea. They automatically put you in voice until you have to disable it on the Battle.net website. So that way it kind of forces people into dealing with it at the beginning. They're problem solved.
Really to communicate, but I know some people don't like it. Just be aware you're going to have to make some sort of macro system or something because the buttons have to be pressed really, really quickly. We've had some delays where we were trying to take our time and make sure we got it right, and you simply do not have enough time to put the code in, and you're going to lead to a wipe. If you fail the code at any point, it's an instantaneous wipe. Okay? So,
yeah, that
getting that out of the way, some people are going to be shit at it. They're going to fail, they're going to struggle, they're going to panic, they're just not going to... They're just going to be panicking and press the wrong button. That's going to happen. But that doesn't mean we can't make it easier. That does not mean we can't make it easier.
Okay. How do we
First
make it
things
easier?
first. The most difficult aspect of this, if your guys are comfortable putting the code in, is its overlaps with the rest of the mechanics. Let's start in phase 1. So in phase 1, you're going to fight this aerial unit.
Most
the
people use
amount
Discord
of tanks
anyway.
I've
That's
seen
probably true.
today on stream who don't realize the very simple thing that when the takeoff mechanic occurs, and this aerial unit takes to the sky, it activates a spell called Cutting Beam, where it's going to target a player and then it's going to move in a straight line towards them, AoEing the floor. Tanks need to keep this as far away from the buttons as possible, so when that phase starts, the Cutting Beam cannot reach those players.
Who the fuck wouldn't do that?
Yellow, purple,
Yellow,
blue.
purple, blue, green.
I'm being cut and
Sorry. Yellow, purple.
Yellow, done.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
come on.
it's that Mike just pretty much had what happened to me. Like,
I saw so many
Hey,
groups wiping today because
sometimes
the
you get
cutscene
it,
being
sometimes you
targeted
get
at
got.
player, the tank had tanked the thing in the middle of the room,
Okay.
and it had just gone straight to where they were trying to press their button, and they physically couldn't do it. Simultaneously, I saw the same players blaming that person for just press the button. It's not that hard.
No,
this
it's
is one
not.
of those things you're going to have is some morons who aren't paying attention to what's actually happening, causing all these problems. I often saw the tank blaming the range, like, this is
Yeah.
what you need to do.
Of course.
Can you just get it done, while simultaneously making it so that guy couldn't press the button, right? Lots of that going on. Tanks need to keep it at the far end of the room away from the buttons so that the casters and the healer are more than free to press their button, okay?
That's kind of a
Having said
common
that,
sense thing.
Who's best at organizing it? So I just said then about
Me.
having voice comms. Your tanks shouldn't be involved here. It's going to come down to the 3 DPS and the healer. And the reason for this is that in the second phase, when they're actually tanking the boss, the camera angles the tank needs to see in order to be able to actually see what code approach is awful. It's absolutely terrible. It's really, really bad. And they're not going to be able to realistically come away from the boss, press a button, and then go back to the boss, because if nobody's in melee range, the boss is just going to annihilate the entire group, right? So the tank is kind of out of this picture. It's some groups I saw using the tank for phase 1 and then not in phase 2. That makes very little sense to me. Just have the group get comfortable with it, doing
Well, that's
it over
what we
and over
did.
again.
Well, what do you mean? That's fine. Well, what's
This
wrong
is
with
going to
that?
take several wipes. I can tell you, even as like a top raid
What do you
team
mean?
in the world, it still took us like 5 or 6 goes to get this correct, while
Yeah, it's
figuring
a
out the
joke.
best solution for us. So that's something you want to bear in mind, is the tank really shouldn't be involved. Organize it between the 4 remaining members of the party, and ideally assign each of them to a specific spot. You can do one person can do both sides, but it's way harder. And it comes down to a
Yeah,
little
I don't
bit
know
of
about
RNG.
that, dude.
If you have, say,
Yeah.
one on the right-hand side of the room and one on the left-hand side of the room, then the guy, if you have one player on the right-hand side of the room, then he clearly has enough time to press his button, move to the other one while the other guy does his button, and then press that, and so on and so forth.
Right.
But ideally, you want to have set positions at the start and say,
you
this
just have
is
4
your
people.
place,
That's
this is
what we
your
did.
place, this is your place,
That's
this is
easy.
your place. Now, I want to move on to how you actually call this, because in both of the groups I did it with, we used totally different systems because it was better for that group. Why? I don't really know, but it was just a case of one system worked for one group, one system worked for another. So in group 1, the first group we did, we just called the colors out. So it would go purple, red, yellow, green. So I would stand sort of close to my button. I would wait for my color to pop up, which changes, by the way. Well, it can be, but it changes color.
I don't know
my
about that.
corner, let's say I had the first on the right-hand side. It could be yellow, it could be red, it could be blue, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just the order the buttons, the colors flashed up. That's
Since I'm like retarded with colors, like I don't know what it is with colors, but like if I see them, I'll think red is green and like blue is purple and shit like that. Like I see it, and like the first visual impulse that I have is not the color that it's supposed to be. I have to do it with numbers. And so I think that's always the way that's been. In my opinion, I think numbers are better, but I think colors would work for a normal person though.
what matters there. So I would just wait for my color.
Well, I'm not
red,
colorblind.
Mine's red, click red. We tried that in the second group, and it really just wasn't working. It was just the way it was. It just wasn't working at all. We switched to just saying the names of the person.
Okay.
Now, that's more
Yeah, that's
useful in a
simple.
guild team, I think. If you've got a set number of players, if you've got a guild team, or you've got a usual mythic team, mythic dungeon team, you're probably going to find that either easier to say things like Bill, Ted, Mike, Andy, done. Right? You're going to find that way easier because you're
Yeah,
just going to go
sure.
through the order and work it out that way. Another group have used 1, 2, 3, 4. I find 1, 2, 3, 4 to be very distracting. Personally, I don't think that works out too well because there's no corroboration in game. At least with the color system, which works.
I feel like a lot of this is like personal, like the way that each different person wants to do shit. You know what I mean? Because like to me personally, I think that like doing the numbers and everything is fine. Everything else besides that isn't really too big of a deal. Like if he's just going through the whole last boss, like I think that we pretty much know how to do the last boss. I thought he was gonna have like tips inside the whole dungeon, not just the last boss. Like we know how to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the easiest by far. Yeah, I don't know. To me, I think that it's the easiest as well, but I don't really know. I don't know. Let's see here. Why the fuck has this not popped up yet, though? That's what I'm curious about. Let me pause this. I'll make this smaller. Every mind is different. You're right. I mean, if that works for Preach's group, I'd say that he should do that. Let's see. It gets you different abstractions than normal. Well, I don't know. To me personally, I think 1, 2, 3, 4 is the best idea. And that's the easiest one to do. Now, obviously, I know some people aren't really big fans of that, but, you know, to me, I do think that's the easiest way to do things.